Hello and welcome to the Plone Newsroom, episode 19. Today is March the 1st, 2024, and you're listening again to Philip Bauer from Munich and
Fred van Dijk from Rotterdam. Hi, Philip.
hi, Fred. It's been quite a couple of months since we heard and saw each other in this format, at least. We haven't done an episode since Plone Conference. So if this is the first time you're listening to that, this is a podcast. We're streaming it on YouTube as well, but you can also listen to it about Plone, an open source content management system. And if we're going to do a couple of demos, but if you're only listening to it, we're trying to describe what you see. But if you want to get the full experience and see our graying hair, you need to head over to YouTube to see the video.
Yeah. So Plone is written, we used to say mainly in Python and JavaScript, but if we wait a few more years, it will be written in a lot of JavaScript and a little bit of Python, but who knows what happens. There's a lot of code in Plone anyway. Like you said, we try to upload this both in video and audio, and we have our own little spot somewhere on plone.org/newsroom, or follow the menu where we keep a log of things we discussed and links to the YouTube videos and previous sessions. So indeed, Philip, where have we been? So how was your once in a 4-year day yesterday? Because it was the Schrikkeldag in Dutch yesterday.
Yeah, my wife had her last work day, and they got one more day out of her because it was the, how is it called, Schrikkeldag, the Schaltag in German.
Schaltag in German, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know what's
February
the English.
29th.
What's the English name? That we like
no idea. They just switched to March 1st anyway.
I had one interesting one in a ticketing system I won't name, but it said that this issue was last touched yesterday, February 28th. So something is wrong in that front-end library. The relative dates are a little bit off around here. So yeah, where have we been? So like you said, we had a great Plone Conf. I got home and the week after that, Wednesday, I got COVID. That took me the usual few weeks to get better physically, but this time I was also mentally brain fog, concentration issues, and it took me really until the end of the year to get back to normal productivity or normal feeling of being able to accomplish what I expect to do in a day. That was really unexpected. The first time I kind of was over it for in also 4 to 5 weeks, I think, maybe 6. But now it really took me until the end of November, early December, where I was like, okay, now I can work for 100% again. And then I shouldn't do anything more than like 110%, or do a bit more in the evening for 2 days, because then the next morning I would be... I just feel it tingling in my brain. I mean, it has nothing to do with long COVID, but still, this mental part of it kind of scared me a bit. But I'm back. I'm up and running again. I had to unlearn my coping strategy by spreading out my work and everything I do over the whole day. So in January it was like, no, Fred, stick to 8 hours a day, and for the rest you need to have some free time. So it was an interesting few months after a really cool Plone Conf, a really cool vacation, but then getting back online and trying to do stuff was really challenging.
I can imagine. Yeah, I was also sick, but no COVID. Just normal winter cold nonsense. And interesting thing is the year started out very slow. So all my clients, they decided not to come back from winter vacation ever. So January was I'm like booked out for the year, and had very, very busy last year, but my emails didn't get answered and stuff like that. So that was kind of relaxing. I had good Christmas holidays,
and then
a couple additional days. And now, exactly. And now it's full on again.
Knocking on your door.
Exactly.
At your door.
So we have obviously, since we haven't done an episode in such a long time, a lot of stuff has happened. We'll not cover everything. That would be a very long episode. We have a couple of topics we want to talk about and a couple of demos, and we'll actually start out with a demo because I'm worried that my demo setup will go down in flames before the episode is done.
That's a
So
really short-lived, just-in-time demo. I'm really curious now. You already told me, like, can we do something in the program? Yes, sure. Just shift it around. So, okay,
yeah.
let's see
Okay, I'll
how it catches
start
fire.
sharing my screen. Let's figure out how this goes. Screen, da-dum-dum-dum. So here it is.
A Plone
So
site.
yeah,
Two
it's
Plone sites.
exactly. It's two browsers, one on the top and one on the bottom, and one is running. So I have two. For those who are not seeing this, I have two browsers open in two different windows. I can arrange them
Okay.
as I want, but I have one
Yeah.
running
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
8082 and one on 8083. It's obviously a Zio setup. So
Aha. So it's one site.
it's one site with two instances running. So one database, two instances running. And what I want to demo is a new add-on called Collective Task Q2. I'll put that in here. It is in the collective. It's Task Q2, Q2 Q2. God, what a tongue twister. Yeah, I think that's the right word. Hang on, I'm looking for another browser to scroll to wherever yeah. So it is a drop-in replacement for collective task queue, which used to
Yep.
be around um, to delegate tasks from one instance to another and use so that they can run asynchronously.
Yeah,
It's
so basically, we had a few of these indeed. This is a new implementation, and the basic idea is because if you have a web server and you have a request, you want to get that response back as soon as possible and not have any long-running requests because the concurrent processing capacity of a soap server is limited. You say, okay, you have like 3 or 4 or maybe 5 threads, but that's already not advised. So what you want to do is if you have any long running processing that you need to do on the request, you kind of try to shift it to another instance where it's just chugging away in the background. And maybe in 1 or 2 or 5 or 10 minutes, the task is ready, like generating a PDF or calculating a big report. And then it goes back and it's done. And that is what this second instance is for.
exactly. It is based on Huey, which is a task queue implementation that I haven't heard of yet, but it works fine. It's written by Andreas Jung for a project for the University of Bologna, and I'm happy that they open sourced it. There is no release as of yet, so it's in alpha stage. Well, yeah, 4 months ago was the last commit, but I got it to work. It supports. It needs its own database to store the tasks that the second instance should be running, and it supports SQLite, Redis in memory, and I think something else. It needs better docs. Took me a while to get it running, but it works fine. So I'm gonna show how that works. First, I'm gonna show the setup. So this is a build-out based site, and I have a here is Task Q2 as an add-on. And in my production setup, my CO setup, I have where do I have them? Here, two CO clients, and they take some environment variables saying, okay, Huey task queue URL, so where the task queue is, and the Zero Client 2, which is my worker, not the I called it, one is the trigger, the other is the worker.
One is doing the normal web request, like what you
Exactly.
browse through, and the other one is sitting in the background, not getting any web requests, but getting tasks assigned to it from the queue.
Exactly.
Or actually,
And you need to set an environment variable Huey consumer 1. And the task queue, I use SQLite in this case. and a log file and stuff like that. Nothing else. So
But this,
no hard dependencies except for Huey,
yeah.
which is dependent on by collective task queue. So I'm moving this out of the way again. Oh no, going back here, so to show you what code I'm actually running. So I wrote a stupid view here. That's a trigger. It passes. It calls schedule browser view. It's just a browser view that calls a method from collective task queue2, and it needs to have the name of the view that it's calling, and it gets some additional parameters like the Plone side, the context on which the view should be called, the user under which it should run. So there is a security issue there. If you don't have control over both instances or they're not running on the same machine, that is it's unsafe to do that. That is something to be aware of. Could be refactored, but it's probably a bit work. And that's basically it. And then it's returning trigger called. And the worker is the second view, and that's just logging something, and then it's creating a document. So let me just demo the whole thing. I'm adding work. So now I enter worker as URL on the Zio client 1. And in my, it says worker called. I had a PDB. I forgot to restart. Worker called. That's like the return. I don't see any change on the client because obviously it's classic. So I don't see changes that instantly happen. But when I reload my site, I see a new content that happens there. It's triggered and it has a timestamp, and it's created by the worker. And if I look at so here's the trigger. I said worker called. And if I switch to the other one, I see some Huey logs. And at some point, I also see, worker called. Should be somewhere in here. But
a lot of debugging. Yeah.
Yeah.
From Huey.
Exactly. Some debug messages to help. But this is actually done by the worker. So the instance that created this object is the worker and not the trigger. And so when I reload this, I see it as well. So it's the same instance, and I can do that again, obviously. Worker, I can have my PDB for some reason here. And here is, in the other side, and here is my trigger again. Yeah, that's it. It is. I'm happy that we have this now in Plone 6 because the older implementations only supported.
We had multiple add-ons for this. I mean, we had a task queue which was maybe based on, we had Celery used, we had like Redis, but the solutions we had so far, I mean, all this stuff is complex. It's not like, oh, I want to have a second worker. I mean, you need to communicate. They all use a kind of some kind of shared state, which is Redis or another database. And there's a lot of stuff around. I really like that it's now apparently. So what Andreas apparently he used is a UI, is like an abstraction Python library already there, supporting multiple tasks and queues, and that takes a bit of whoever is supporting the currently supported a solution for a Plone version by having this abstracted into the UI library. So I really like this, but then it's complex. Like you already said, now it's using SQL. You opted for the easy SQLite, but then you need to have the SQLite database on one system where both clients have access, because otherwise they can't communicate.
Yeah, but you can use. That's why you can use different database systems. You can even use just in memory if it's the same system, which is interesting.
Yeah, so cool to see something new here and some new support there, because we had this requirement quite a few times. Like I said, I could mention generating PDFs. I had an add-on where we generated images or graphs from some Excel there, and then we also offloaded that to the back to a worker instance. Where we didn't really directly need it, but when an editor changed it, we would also generate, for example, a PNG or a JPEG out of a vector image.
Yeah. Since we're still, I have the instances still running, I'm just doing the demo of the second thing as well, so I can switch it off again. The second thing is also a classic add-on, using the same instance because I have the add-on installed there as well, and it is a drop-in replacement. This time for TinyMCE. So we just created these triggered elements, and when I click on Edit, I get a different editor. This is CK Editor, and thanks to Godefroy Chapelle, who did that for the University of Leuven, I guess. It's also already has a release. You can now use CK Editor in Plone 6. It has Plone Finder and image plugin, so you can link to content for a Plone site and add stuff. I actually managed to break parts of it, but you see, it's CK Editor. I'm not a huge fan of either editor, Tiny or this one. I actually much prefer the editor we have in Volto, but I know a lot of universities tended to use CK Editor for some reasons. I don't know actually which, but the requirement is there, especially I guess at the University of Leuven. So now you can use that. It's still in alpha state, but it works fine, and you can use it and go ahead and work with that if you want. Just wanted to show that because it used to be a big add-on in the days.
Yes, we used to have the support for CK Editor in Plone 3 and 4 at least, where there was really competition for editing the content area, so to say, for editing our WYSIWYG text there. And then, I mean, you could also in the days the rich text field actually had a drop down where you could say, oh, just give me plain text, or edit maybe in Markdown, or
yes.
Then we have restructured text as well as one of the options, and you could even have, I think, TinyMCE and CK Editor installed both as editors and both as rich text editors, and then users could even choose. I would advise against it, but it was really something back in the day. And you asked, what I think was that CK Editor at the time delivered cleaner HTML than what TinyMCE was doing.
That might be the case. What also is the case, it has a ton of configuration options. Well, TinyMCE obviously can be configured as well, but the control panel for CK Editor has plenty of buttons, and one that I really like is force paste as plain text, which is really good so you don't have to educate your editors to use the paste as plain text feature in TinyMCE.
Yeah, that's the other way around.
It's hidden, yes.
It's opt out instead of opt in.
Exactly. So that's for the demos. Let's move on to the new what happened since the conference.
News. Well, quite a bit happened, I think, since the conference. People got working really hard, I think, on client projects and on their own things. Yeah, we didn't really do the Plone conference review that we normally did, Philip. We did. Yeah. We did get another TPN out at the conference again, which was really great for the second time. I'm not going to vouch if we're going to do it a third time. But we got convinced to do it a second time.
Yeah, I was panicking throughout the whole episode. I was up there on stage. I didn't
as usual.
Didn't feel well at all. I hope it wasn't too awful for anyone watching that. It was good to have it basically, but I didn't love doing it. Maybe next year I'll be better prepared and stuff like that.
We still have something as nerd safety from our own room doing this podcast. It's fine, but as soon we're on stage, it's like yeah, okay. I think we'll have to revisit, because I spoke to some people in the community. We had a marketing meeting last week, and some friends that said, like, I haven't even had time to watch back some episodes from Plone Conf, and we're discussing World Plone Day already again to create new videos. It's
too much content.
So it is almost like, okay, too much content, too many things to see. But again, Plone Conf was great. We had a lot of great presentations.
I love the location. Abar was such a lovely town, and the hosts did such an amazing job as feeling us like. It was like we were all packed in cushions and well cared for. That was really, really good.
Even the policemen chasing us friendly away from the party venue in
I
the evening
remember.
were very friendly, or so we thought, at least, because we couldn't understand them.
Yeah.
Maybe we have asked to ask some people from Code Syntax what they really said. So Plone Conf was great. There was a lot of effort there. I think for our clients, the contributions to Plone itself was for me. I was out here trying to recover, looking a bit at things, but indeed a lot of work has been done because one of the news items. So Plone releases. There's a Plone 6.1 alpha. And it's been out for now. I didn't really write it down, but last week I think.
Yeah, the Alpha
Mouse.
2
The
is
Alpha 2 is
out
already
for
there.
2 days. Yeah, Alpha 2 is out for 2 days now.
2 days, okay. Yeah. And Alpha 1 was 2 weeks ago or something.
Alpha 1 was a while ago, yeah. And Morris just keeps churning out the releases. So let's step back before we get to the 6.1. There's a 6.0.10.1 release. Basically, there's a 6.0.10 release, and the .1 is with a small bug fix for Classic. And there something big landed in there. And that is support for Python 3.12.
Yeah, I was surprised a bit to have it in the 6.0 series, but I think our main, not blocker, but our main requirement for supporting a new Python version is that the ZOAP has to support it as well. So hats off to the ZOAP contributors and ZOAP maintainers, because we're standing on the shoulders of giants there that maintain this ZOAP machinery, this application underneath Plone, and that one got support for Python 3.12 in the same major ZOAP version. So we can shift that under the Plone 6.0 series, and it's still fine. So that's a really cool addition that we can go up there.
The reason why that's good is basically having the newest Python version gives you the most speed. And the speed improvements that came with 3.10, 11, and 12 are significant. There are also other benefits like much better error messages in Python and stuff like that. Which actually makes writing tests a bit harder. So we had to fix a couple of tests. Stuff was deprecated, so we had to do a couple of fixes in Plone as well, not only ZOAP. But basically, it's great to have support for the newest Python version.
Did you find any catchy numbers? I didn't look at this time. I noticed that. Noted that at the time from Python 3.11 had some real speed improvements in the 10%. I didn't check those numbers for 3.12.
Me neither. I heard that there are some. I read that, but I don't have the numbers. And Python is really fast. So I'm happy with the state it is. I don't feel compelled to do some speed tests at the moment because it's just running like a rabbit. It's amazing.
So that's so get back to Plone 6.10.1. We had, of course, Python 3.12. The .1 release was because of a small issue in the folder contents in Classic UI, which got fixed as well. And for the other releases, I'd say, because we've missed a few since last year, of course, I'm not sure where we were. We were at 6.06, 6.07 around Plone Conf.
6.08, I think.
6.08. So if
8 was released during Plone Conf, I think, something like that.
6.08 was released during, okay, and 6.09 was before Christmas.
January, yes.
So if you want to check any Plone releases, the marketing team added a new blog on the homepage with only the Plone releases, which also has a link to all releases that Maurits maintains on a subsection of plone.org. So it's really easy now. If you go to plone.org, scroll a bit down, you'll see a block of recent Plone releases, and 6.0.10.1 is there as well.
Excellent. That's really good. There are a couple of small bug fixes that I want to highlight. One is nice. You can do unrestricted find in Plone API now for content. It used to be something that you could do with a portal catalog, search unrestricted search results, stuff like that. And now we have unrestricted true, a parameter that you can pass optionally, which can be useful. I love using Plone API instead of the API of the tools, obviously. So that's a nice thing. I added a fix, and I was kind of proud of finding the bug and fixing that, because David Glick wrote, "It is the intersection of two dark corners of Plone." It was the combination of working copies and relations. So if you have a folderish item that has relations, the working copy the relations didn't really work here in the working copy and got botched on checking in again, and that is fixed. Not getting into details, but that it is truly a kind of a dark corner. Not too many people know their ways about both of these. So yeah, patting myself on the shoulder here.
But you have an interest in relations anyway, with the relations control panel and the sprint we did. So when you know a bit of that low level, it gets easier to get into this kind of issues.
If you don't know how a relation is actually constructed, you'll have a really hard time figuring out what's going wrong in that place. There's also a important fix purging the image scale path. So if you change an image and the cache was not purged, you still get the old scaled image, which was really annoying for some projects. Not for mine, but that was a and as it is said, there are two hard things in IT: naming things and cache invalidation. And this is obviously cache invalidation. So hats off to whoever fixed that.
And off by one errors. Don't always forget the off by one errors.
Yeah, that's my list of errors is always off by one. Basically, something else that I want to highlight because it's rarely it's an unsung hero. I'll share my screen again. Plone Classic has a really nice feature.
Whoa, you're scaring.
Sorry.
Inception.
Inception. Where is my browser? Here's a browser. That's not the right. There's a test rendering cheat sheet in Plone Classic.
Yep.
And that is really useful. It's part of Plone Core, so you can use the Classic demo site to go to test rendering and show some Plone Core features like alerts, which are not from Bootstrap. And then we included actually the Bootstrap cheat sheet. And it's updated so that you can make sure that the Bootstrap CSS stuff and components are working properly. Like here, the responsive image, for example, tables, colors, and forms. Here, upload buttons. Submit. No, don't submit that. Disabled inputs.
There's no activity registered behind it.
Yeah,
right?
there's no form behind that. But all of this
shows
works.
The elements.
It's an accordion. It works. There are the alerts that you've already seen. There are buttons, button groups. What I really like is the carousel, and all of these things actually work. These drop downs work, kind of. Modals, excellent. Full screen modals, so you can make sure that all these things work. And when you're developing a classic site and you say, I need a UX feature, that and that, just go there and pick what you want, because we use Bootstrap and all of these things are working. So it serves a double purpose. It said, okay, this Bootstrap component works in Plone like this. It looks like this. So you can use it, or maybe it's a bit wonky, so maybe don't use it. There are a couple of things that conflict with core Plone features, nothing big. And the second feature thing, obviously, is making giving you a selection, making sure that nothing breaks, that Plone doesn't break.
This is a really cool one in your projects to check and see if when the theming has been done, okay, are we breaking anything, or is anything really inconvenience still shining through from default Bootstrap that you know that will be used on pages. And that's the cheat sheet is a nice one to check there. Yeah. Used it before as well.
Okay. So what actually is the big change in Plone 6.1?
Yeah, good one. So there's not really, I think, the tiny MCE6, of course. That's why I wanted to mention it before you struck me down. And no, let's do some 6.0.10 first. But it needs Plone 6.1 has an update to tiny MCE6. I mean, that's for classic UI the main contact point for many editors updating and creating content in their site. So that's great to be up to date again. And for us, I think there's a lot of small small features improvements that are going into Plone 6.1, both in the backend, but also in both front ends, like for classic UI6. And for Plone 6.1, the bundled Volto version will probably be Volto 18. Not sure yet. The Volto release managers are to say that, but when you look at it, Volto 18 also isn't breaking that much yet. But then again, there's some quite some improvements there.
Yep.
Also, something maybe that's maybe a development news. But if you look at the Volto repository, I think it was already at the end of last year or early this year, where the Volto main repository was switched to a mono repo.
Yes.
Where a lot of components that were developed for Volto are now, for example, can work standalone. One of the biggest examples the Volto release manager Victor mentioned a while ago is Plone Registry. So this is a front-end add-on, just like in the back-end Plone app registry, but in the front-end is a registry where you can register configuration and have that usable, but it's also working as a standalone package. So people outside the Plone front-end community or Plone community can use it for other JavaScript projects. And all those extra packages, because for example, we have a generator for scaffolding a Volto project that was somewhere in the subdirectory that's now in the packages directory.
The Slate editor is there as well.
Slate editor is there as well. So a lot of the Volto internally, a lot of the code in the Volto repository was moved to this monorepo format, where the individual packages are now in their own subdirectory, which gives the maintainers a lot of advantages.
Yeah,
but those are efforts you don't see, and we normally wouldn't mention directly if we have feature lists or what's new. But this is something that's really big and really really good improvement.
Yeah, when you switch from Volto 17 to 18, you need to read the documentation, especially when you want to build the core, because we also moved from Yarn to PNPM, because PNPM can supports the monorepo structure that we have there. Stuff is happening. Volto obviously saw a lot of releases. We're currently at Volto 17.15.2. It has seen a lot of backported bug fixes and changes that mainly are developed for 18, but anything that is not breaking is being backported into 17, especially the bug fixes. And Volto 18 is, I know that Victor said we're not doing that many alphas this time around, but we're already at alpha 15. So Victor, hey, can we have, I don't know,
15 more alpha releases?
Maybe some betas just to mix it up a little. There are big changes in there. I think we're going into detail in one of the next episodes, but there are two things that are definitely worth mentioning. One is Volto 18 now runs on React 18.2, which is like coincidence.
Since today.
Since today, yes, exactly.
On the main branch, or in Alpha 15 it was released as well.
It was released. It's already in Alpha 15.
Yeah.
And the second thing, well, there's lots of things, and the monorepo and the add Plone component, add Plone registry, add Plone whatever stuff. Victor is evangelizing us a lot about this headless aspect of like the splitting up features of Volto that can be used with completely different systems and JavaScript frameworks, which is really interesting, and we'll still need to figure out what will actually happen. There's not a lot of proof of concepts, but yeah, it's exciting that's going to happen.
It's an interesting way to see that for those many years we've been working and developing and supporting and cheering for Plone. There's always been this, we need this component. Okay, let's select a component. And you select a component, and after 4 or 5 years, or depending on your ecosystem, it's outdated again. You have to replace it again. But it's really cool that all this way, if you now see what's happening here, is that individual components from the Plone ecosystem get repackaged as generalized components that can be used outside of Plone. It's really cool to see this this flow now also a bit the other way around, where we really have some gems developed for the Volto front-end story that are now isolated and can be brought back to the more broader JavaScript community, and also maybe bring in people for only part of the components, because the story of Victor is really what he's promoting there is really like we have a full headless CMS. But I chatted a bit with Victor recently, and what we also found out is that Plone is one of the few open source CMSs where all the components are actually open source. There are no strings attached. There's not like, oh, here you have our beautiful free front end, but if you really want to use it, you need to buy our SaaS monthly subscription of $15, and then you are allowed to save 50 pages and 20 images with 2 users. Subscription model, and I'm not exaggerating this. The problem there is that if some part of your whole stack of building an enterprise, or not an enterprise CMS, but even a large a CMS that supports a large site for whatever that means for you, and you go out shopping in open source, then there are often these little tricks or these models or these business models behind it that you only find out later, that either the support is really expensive if you do need to find someone, or you need to some of the modules are not available because the open source version is actually a freemium, and if you want to connect to LDAP or Active Directory, or you want to have single sign-on, that's only in the commercial supported version, and the company supporting the CMS behind it is not going to ever allow an open source version of an
premium
LDAP
plugins.
module.
TinyMC has premium plugins.
Yeah, that's one of the things I saw TinyMC doing that 2 or 3 years ago, and that's really icky.
Yeah, it's their model of making revenue.
Yeah. But this is something unique. Not yes, I think this is getting more and more. We're getting in the direction of unique for Plone, that we have like a blueprint of a full stack CMS where every single component is open source, and you can pick and choose, and you can look at it, and there are no strings attached. There are no but you need to buy this later if you want to grow. No, everything is there, and then of course, we need better documentation, we need better marketing, we need better everything, because this is done in a full open source way, and there's not a 2 or 3 or a single entity behind it with a large bag of money with which they can buy document writers and marketing people to promote the CMS. But you have this freedom, nobody's going to take it away from you, and you have a full view. You can look at the front end, you can look at the back end, you can look at the API we have in between. And you can look at the way how we develop things, and everything is open.
Yeah. Getting support obviously costs money if you need to pay someone to do that, but you get free help on the community forum. I just got a call last week by someone who asked me, I really want to do the migration for my website for a sailing club thing, I think it was. And I told them, okay, read the documentation. I gave trainings. There's videos. It's all there. If you get stuck, ask in the community forum, because their budget was basically non-existent, and so they need to help themselves. But it's all there so that they can actually help themselves, which is good.
Yeah,
but let's get back.
Yeah, it's
Volto.
Volto. A lot of components are now made more generic, but we also get back some cool stuff from previous Plone versions. We get back a kind of viewlet implementation, although it shall not be named that way exactly. Nope. But we've got slots.
Yeah, it's just merged today as well, and it was released it's part of Alpha 15. And there is, which is exciting, there is a proof of concept by Preta Web called Volto Slots Editor, which gives you a portlet-like editor experience. I haven't tested it yet, but I'm eager to try it once they refactor it to work with the merged slots feature.
Yes, but don't go too fast, because slots are not portlets. So
actually, they're not.
So slots are like more similar to viewlets. You can so there are. I read so everybody can go to the main branch and see the documentation there. Or maybe it's on the release now. No, it doesn't get pushed to the documentation yet, I think. So there's already documentation there on the slots chapter. so the similarities are with the view-let managers and the view-let. So there are now slots which are view-let managers. They are two ones. There are two already now, above content and below content.
Yep.
And any front-end add-on can register slot components that fit into one of these slots or your new slots that you define where they get inserted. And this is the basic system that's also behind viewlets, where you could say, oh, I have an add-on that, for example, again, wants to export something from the site. I just make up something. Then you used to have document actions, and you would like your add-on to have something in the document actions on every page, which would be mostly below content or above content, for example. Then how would you do that in another CMS? You would have to override either the main template, because there's a slot in there, a position there where we would say, okay, this is the slot where I need. So then you would need to override the main template. Or if it's on the other pages, you don't know exactly which content types or which other add-ons are installed there. So you would have to go over all content types and see if they have any templates, and it would go into a complete template mess, or an overriding the main template, which you would have to do all times. And these viewlet managers and viewlets abstract, and now we also have this in Volto frontend as a concept. These slots allow you to say, look, I have an add-on. Can you please, when I'm active and installed, can you please insert something on every page based on a few conditions? And that's already cool. You've got predicates in there with predicate helpers, where you can say only show, register this, put this slot in this slot component, in this slot if you are on this path,
or this content type,
and you can add other helpers.
You can write your own methods, which gives you the context object, so you can inspect the content type, values from the content type, and only if the department head has blue eyes and two noses, then you show an additional slot.
Yes, there I'm curious, because what I got out of Victor by asking him about this last week, I think, was, but do you have context? And you don't have context. Yes, by default, do you have context, or do you need to write this predicate that looks up something from the context? Because this is the old available, this is the available method that we used to have on viewlets.
The context, as far as I read the documentation, the context is actually there if you write your own predicate. You don't have to pull it out of thin air from the path.
But you have to write your own predicate first before you can use it. Okay. So
it's basically function.
Yeah. So the inheritance is not in there by default, but Victor, because I was like, oh, do we really get our no? But apparently, PretterWeb already created, like you said, Volto slots editor, and that has more portlet-like inheritance maybe already in there, but it's really fresh, so we have to check it first.
Yeah, we can't say anything about
next
that.
episode.
Yeah,
we're excited.
Yeah, we are. So
that was a lot of
stuff
code
was released. Yes.
Yes.
But we don't only have code. We have people and events, and a couple of the upcoming events. The next, I'm going to see you on Monday, because Monday we're recording on Friday the 1st, and on Monday the 4th, the Plone is happening again. The first time after 2020. So it's been 4 years that we didn't have a Plone because COVID happened just at the end of the Plone which was in Dresden, and from March 4th till 6th.
And first 3 days. Yeah.
And up to 8th, if you include the spring, there's going to be Plone at the University of Gießen. Thanks very much to the organizers, the team from the University of Gießen. We're really happy that they organized that. And I think it's great that the German-speaking Plone community has a chance to get together again and give talks in German, because I know a lot of, especially like clients, and not everyone is super happy speaking English or going. They don't get approval for going to international conferences, especially if they're in Tokyo and they're working for a small institution. That's not going to be part of their travel fund.
But you
that's great.
We notice it at Plone Conf as well. I mean, everybody tries to speak English at their best, but you notice that if you're standing next to some colleagues or some friends you already know for many years, and they are able to speak Dutch, it's very easy to quickly speak some Dutch. So at the Plone Conf, you hear Italian, French, Dutch,
Spanish,
Spanish,
Portuguese.
French. Did I mention Italian? Portuguese, indeed, Portuguese. Last year, so we tend to call these local conferences symposia. So that's the label we put on them also on Plone.org. So we have the conference, and this is like the local conference is a symposium, or in German then the Plone Tagung. We had a very cool, and you can say people. I mean, English is the lingua franca, but it's so nice also to be able to speak your own language. Because it's still your mother tongue. Look at the sprint last year in the Cerrado sprint.
Yeah.
Where of course, and also Erico mentioned to me like yes, we do some English, we do some presentations, but just being able to speak Portuguese together makes it so much easier to collaborate on certain things.
Approachable to a lot of people, so that's a huge benefit. I'm happy that that's happening. We have more. The next conference location has been revealed at the conference last year. So after the last Plone Newsroom episode, they told us that Plone Conf is going back to Brazil, actually back to Brasilia as well, the capital of Brazil. It's happening November 25th until the 1st of December. And there's a website up, and it's amazing to have an excuse to go back to Brazil. I'm coming.
Shout out to Erico again. I think some other organizers. The Plone Conf website is also open source. So if you want to see how you can develop a cool conference website with not too much effort, it's based on Volto Lighting. Just check out github.com/Plone and then 2024.ploneconf.org.
Yeah.
Just like last year's website, last year's Plone Conf was also open source. If you want to see how you can use Plone 6 with Volto and also have a reusable theme in there, for example, with Volto Lighting now for the 2024 fight, it's all open source and it's on GitHub.
Yeah. So excited that this is happening this year. Going to be some winter vacation in flying into summer for me at least.
Yeah, but I'm getting a bit more nervous about Plone Tagung because I still have a talk to finish.
Don't mention that. I have 2 talks to finish.
Don't mention the talk. Yes. So
yes.
Us finally recording TPN again is mainly because Philip has a worse enemy, which is finishing his talk, but this is mine as well. So this is just procrastination, talking to each other and recording.
It's an excuse not to finish the talks.
I did my first talk in 2020 in German. That was like in Dresden, I think it was. Yes, it was just before COVID started, and it was like, okay, let's do this in German for once. It was a lot of fun, but it was a safe subject for me, LDAP connection. So, what are you going to talk about, Philip?
I'm gonna talk about a couple of projects that I did for public research institutes. One classic, one Volto, and what they have in common and what the problems are. So that's the tricky one, and the other is going to be about migrations, because
what else?
At the conference at the Tagung 2020, I gave a talk about migrations. I'm not sure it was a presentation, it was an open space or something like that, and I presented the ZODB debugging stuff that I did until then. And since then, a lot of stuff happened, and the story has changed completely because export-import is now the go-to way. So for the people who don't read the English documentation or visit the English conferences, I'm just going to tell them how they should do migrations in the future.
So for all German Plone site migrations, check the German export-import talk.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm going to do a talk on generic talk on container support in Plone 6. I'm going to give an overview, not too details, but just want to show people what's there, what the material we have, the base images, talk a little bit about experience with getting a Plone 6 site with container based on container support in a large organization, get it landed. Because what I find out is that, except from the technology, which is already getting old or mature, as we then say, getting it landed in a larger organization where things don't move that fast. That's another aspect that I want to talk about in general. What is this new way? How should you? How about security? But it will be a generic talk. I'm really excited to see that. I saw in the program that Thomas Shore is going to give a talk on using Plone containers, but then on Kubernetes. I will keep it generic. I mean, we have some Helm charts developed last year, but I'm really excited at what Thomas is going to show us to have that running. I will do the generic overview.
Yeah, that's a lot of stuff happening. We're moving to containers for a couple of Plone projects, even older ones that are migrating to Plone 6, and we're building our deployments on top of the core Plone containers, which is just convenient to pull them in and extend them from there. So that's a lot of stuff is happening there.
Yes,
I'd love to hear some. There was a discussion about what is it, UV Rust replacement for pip. That would be a good topic for open space. Maybe Jens can do that. I'll try to trigger him to do that.
Yeah. So maybe we can do one of the next TPNs. We can translate a bit and have some English summaries from some German talks. We will see. There's a lot of cool stuff there in the program, and I think it will be shared. Then we've got quite some upcoming sprints, because it has been a bit not silent, but of course after the Plone Conf, then at the end of the year, not that many sprints, but it's we're getting up to speed again. First is a sprint that we thought we had lost for 1 year, or was really difficult to organize for, which is the Alpine City Sprint, which got cancelled at the end of last year. But I'm really happy that Jens threw in an announcement a while ago that he's going to wants to do a sprint, and it's called the Tiny Shiny Alpine City Sprint. They're going to do it going to organize it in Vels, which is a smaller town, really close to Innsbruck. That's where I think Jens has his office.
Yeah, he lives there.
And they have some extra spare rooms, and he really couldn't resist it, and offers the rooms there, and is going to organize a small sprint from April 8th to April 14th. So that's the Tiny Shiny Alpine City Sprint coming up.
The next sprint is the Axolotl sprint in Mexico City at the Mathematics University in April 15 to 19, which is like, if you go to the first sprint, the Tiny Shiny, you can take a plane. If it's a fast plane, you arrive just in time to go to the sprint in Mexico. I'm not doing that, obviously, but that's happening. And then again, the Beethoven sprint. I'm very much looking forward to that one in Bonn. Again, it's happening mid-May, May 13 to May 17. As usual, it is focused on Volto development, hosted by Kit Concept. Thanks, Kit Concept, for doing that again. Yeah. That is really good.
So one of the organizers from the Mexico sprint made a joke a while ago, like, okay, we'll learn you how to pronounce it, because there's this same joke as in we had with Basque language. I think it's pronounced axolotl.
Okay.
And then it gets a bit easier. There was the same X in Basque also, where it took me half a week. Like, how can these people pronounce this? And then it was not an X or a Q, but it was just a G or another easier to pronounce letter.
Nice.
And then for the people, the axolotl is a really small salamander-like reptile. Yes. And it's really rare. It has some really exceptional properties. It's a really special small animal. And there's also a really special location to have a sprint in Mexico again. It's hosted by the Mathematics Institute, and it's from April 15 to April 19.
Yeah, they have nice pictures of the sprint location on the website on Plone. You can find that on Plone.org if you're curious.
Oh, see, one of my friends. I didn't mention that from 2023. So we've got. I'm cat herding since a few months. into autumn. It was, I think, we got them. And you're going away now. Sorry, I have
There's
to get.
another sprint.
Yep.
Sorry, the Buschenschank
Continue.
sprint. Hannes is organizing the Buschenschank sprint. Buschenschank, if you don't know that, is like a pub, a rural pub in the south of Austria, where you're only allowed to sell stuff that you actually produce yourself. And they have really nice wine, and it's a great location in the Steiermark. It's happening in June 14th to 19th. You can find information on plone.org, I guess.
And otherwise, it's going to be added soonish. We've got a nice overview there of all sprints.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have some more events that are not sprints. One is the next Plone Tune-Up. It's happening in March 15th. Every month we're doing that on
So
a
generally,
Friday.
we try to do the second Friday of the month, approximately, depending on when the if the first of is maybe But now it's again we're doing it now again. Well, not exactly because it's the first week now, so it would be in the middle, around the middle of the month. Check the agenda. So the whole idea of Plone Tune-Up is to have a kind of get together in the Plone community where members from teams can work together on small tasks, can invite other community members or new members in the community to focus on tasks that need to be done in the teams. The marketing team is present always on the Plone Tune-Up days to do some content editing on plone.org. I mean, we're doing this stuff all over the month and doing a bit here and there, but it's also it was like then you don't really show that people are volunteering for a lot of work that makes Plone and makes Plone happen. So the idea was to bring this back and we have a good running now from we started also spring last year and we had like 4 or 5 tune-ups now, and it's getting a bit of traction. I mean, it takes a lot of time still to get people pointed to it. People need to have time, of course. I volunteered myself a few times or try to move stuff there on the Friday afternoon, and of course life happens. Either you get a customer call or you have to go somewhere else. No, that's not a problem. But in the general, it's a nice get together. We meet on Discord, and like I said, marketing team is participating in it. Other teams are participating as well. Core developers can step in and pick up some tasks and chat about Plone and see friends.
You have people to show your work off to, which is, I think it's a incentive. If I'm fixing a bug and I'm just working in my office for myself, it's a different thing than doing that during the tune-up, when I can talk to people afterwards and show, okay, I had this issue, I fixed it like this, and people say, okay, that's a horrible idea, don't do that, or that is great.
You got a platform to voice, and also for me personally, it worked because I thought, I'm going to do this, and then I didn't have time in the afternoon, so I still did it in the weekend or in the week afterwards. So I got some development on plone.org done, did some AI team administration stuff, updating our cluster nodes there, and some other grunt work that needs to be done. And it's like, couldn't do it yesterday, still have to, let's find a place a few hours this weekend. So that's Plone Tune-Up.
As every year in mid-April, there's going to be a Plone Day. As you said earlier, some people may have not caught up with all the videos that are out there from the conference and the previous events that are published. So there's a lot of Plone content on YouTube or other platforms around. But for Plone Day 2024, it's happening April 17th. We're gonna have a 24-hour Plone video bonanza thing again, and you can submit your videos, and maybe I'm not promising anything. Maybe we did that 2 years ago or last year. An episode and a German episode, which was fun.
So you've got about 7 weeks left to learn some Dutch, Philip.
Shh. shit.
Uh-oh.
Oh God. Okay,
Uh-oh. No, no,
let's.
no. Let's postpone that for another year.
I'm struggling with English already, so
No, no, no.
it's gonna be hard.
Too modest. Yeah, so that's World Plone Day. Yeah, it will be a blast, but it will also be some late minute stress, I think. So a request for people that want to send in a video or contribute. Please don't wait until the last day. It's not only healthy for your own health, but it's also not healthy for the people having to fit together the program. We got it done again last year. When I said we, there are a few people in the marketing team that put a lot of effort in there last year. I know Rika, Pekka, Kim, Sally, and I'm starting to forget people. You also helped a lot there. Erico, of course. So some people from the marketing team. Thank you all for organizing this. But it's a lot of work every year. It's really cool to see the hours getting filled and getting up to the 24 hours. But if you have any content in your own language, that's the cool part of it. There's a page on plone.org announcing World Plone Day. We're going to expand it later this week or next week with more information on World Plone Day. And of course, we will start also nagging people individually from the marketing team to ask them if they have some cool, if they have some time left to present a cool idea about Plone.
Yeah.
So that's World Plone Day.
Yeah. So the idea, you might wonder why is the Plone community putting out all of that content, all that much stuff? Are they like marketing frenzy people? The reason actually is that there's so much happening in the world of Plone, so much cool projects being developed, so many cool add-ons, so many cool things are being discussed, and it's really hard to keep track of that. And making a video for these things to have them stay for posterity is a really nice way of showing the world what's going on, and people can catch up. And I know there are discussions in community Plone.org and in Discord and blog posts being written, but these video format is very approachable to a large audience, and it's not like we're trying to sell Plone like crazy because we don't have enough to do. We have tons of things to do. It is just the immense pride that the Plone community takes in the work that is being done and the results that we're reaping. So it's just pride, basically, a pride 24-hour pride parade.
So that's a lot of news and things. So we're already on the hour, Philip.
Yeah, we're on the hour.
Just catching up from the news, that stuff that happened.
Yeah,
so
let's do one tiny thing, which would actually be a feature, but we're just keeping it short because I got a call. Let's do it like that. I got a call from a client saying, doing this great project. It's been on the way for a while because the migration didn't finish. It's all fine and good. And we need to finish that, and can you help us? And sure, I can. Let's try to find a schedule there. And then I found out what the goal is. It's basically migrating a huge site to Plone 5.2 to Python 3. And I said, yeah, that's cool, that's great. Let's discuss that. And then I stopped myself and thought, okay, when are you trying to launch? And they're trying to launch by the end of the year at the latest. And that is there is a reason why this is not a good idea. And the reason is that Plone 5.2 will drop out of security support in November 2024, this year. I'm really bad at math, something like 9 months, 8 months from now. So developing a project that is shipping this year on Plone 5.2 is just you can't do that, because at the moment that you're launching it, it will not have security support. And the reason for that is, we've discussed that already, but we need to drive this home
we do.
to people. The reason is not that Plone is going to be insecure starting November. The reason is that the Python version that Plone 5.2 will supports is dropping out of security support. So Plone 5.2 doesn't support Python 3.9, which will run a bit more, but it only supports Python 3.7 and 8. Officially. You can actually run it on 3.9, but it's not officially supported because a couple of add-ons and some edge cases are failing in 3.9. So the official support is for 3.8. And if you're running and deploying that, and you have, for example, you're a public institution, you have regulations that you need to uphold. You have, I don't know, you say you're only hosting software that has security support. This is just not an option. You need to migrate to Plone 6. Happily, there is obviously migrating to Plone 6 is not that much of a problem with the export-import or the in-place migration. If you're already on 5.2 with Python 3, that is fine. But if you choose to disregard that, that is also fine. If you say, well, I'm going to run Plone 4 for the next 5 years, but or Plone 5.2 on 3.8. That is fine, but you need to be conscious about that. It needs to be a conscious decision to run and deploy a system that has no security support from the programming language.
Yeah. So there are some escape hatches. I mean, I jokingly said to you like Windows XP was also supported for 10 more years by Microsoft, but then and we had those news items when it was. When it was in the news, it was also like municipalities in the Netherlands still having old Windows XP computers for example, in the water clearing systems, for example, or in many other cases, those old systems were there, and then Microsoft was also happily supporting that for an amount of money, and that's also something that's also now happening. I mean, you could still host a Plone 4 site with Python 2.7. And if you look at some of the Linux distributions, they offer this extended support where they say, okay, look, we still have a Python 2.7. And if we find a large leak in Python 2.7, then at least we will fix Python. But that's only solving part of the problem, but it's the programming language. On the other side is in this open source ecosystem and also this Plone community, we can't keep on supporting Plone 3 and Plone 4 versions indefinitely. We're now already looking at Plone 6 because for the people volunteering to write and support and extend Plone Core, there's new stuff coming in. Python 3.11, Python 3.12, but when the Python ecosystem is moving now faster with releases, yes, inevitably we'll have to drop off all the programming language like we did with Python 2.7, like we now have to do with Python 3.8. But also in between there, like I said before, thanks to the efforts of the Zope maintainers, we have this new Zope version coming in. Zope also needs to support those Python versions. So yes, there are some exceptions. Yes, you could keep running a Plone site on Plone 5.2 after November. Like you said, it's not going to be insecure right away, but you have to be conscious that it could be a problem with regulations, and also that you are slowly digging yourself into a hole that you need to get out of sooner or later, because it's still out of support. You can pay some money to your Linux distribution provider that's going to keep an eye out for big programming language issues. But then again, the community is slowly moving moving a bit faster now to newer versions, and yeah, we just have to keep up.
And not to mention that if you want to take advantage of what the community offers in the form of add-ons and support, if these are all being are updated to for Plone 6, and I also actually it is some developers, including me, will not be as happy to bid for a project that is using an old version. I don't write bug fixes for Plone 2.7 versions. I do the migrations, but don't ask me to help you with your Plone 4 site. That is just something I don't want to have running on my system unless I want to run it to export the data.
And to mention something else, Philip, also, it's not only the programming languages that might get out of support, like the community not being able to support versions at all. A third thing here is that also the automated tests are no longer running. So for all for every Plone release, we have automated tests running. We used to have Jenkins. Jenkins is still doing the core testing. We have a lot of tests nowadays running on GitHub Actions, integration tests. Volto is also tested. And there also we have limited capacity of what we can test, but also the tests that we can maintain for every version. So it will basically mean that after the security support end of this year, the testing, automated testing systems for Plone 5.2 will also be stopped. And we no longer know then if whatever combination of components we have there, if the whole set of things is still tested and going green.
Exactly. So, with that out of the way, we have, as a final note, we have some Volto stuff that we want to show. It's demo time again, and Fred did something. I remember my very first Volto talk was actually called your very first Volto project, something like that, and I demoed something with full calendar, and you are doing something similar, but you are doing it the right way.
So what we found out, let's first again mention Awesome Volto and Awesome Plone, which are two repositories on the collective. They're on collective, right? Collective
Yes.
Awesome Plone, collective Awesome Volto, which has a huge list of add-ons for both the Volto and the classic UI or the basic Plone backend total setup. And one of them there, I was last year thinking about something. Okay, can we have a calendar overview on plone.org? I had some issues with deploying new Plone versions to plone.org for a while. That got solved this month or last month already. And I looked again in that list, like, oh, do we have yes, we have. There's a Volto full calendar block. This is the repository created by Matthias Barde and also contributors Leonardo Caballero. And it adds the full calendar JavaScript component in a Volto block. And I want to show it because there are a few tricks you need to figure out if you want to have this active. We want to have this on plone.org to list all sprints and team activities in a nicer way in the future. We already are creating events now, but we want to show them off. So what you can do here, this is a test version still on testing plone.org. This is our testing system, testing site. And we have a block here. And what you can do, let's maybe first not do that. Let's maybe create a new page and show what you can do first. So test page. And what I can do now is I can add full calendar block. And then you see this. And what I can do now is upload a calendar URL, which is pointed to an iCal or ICS file. That's a semantic correct list of events. You can feed it into the calendar, and like you said, you have some extra options. You can enable options on the left or the right or the toolbar. You can specify some numbering and initial date where the calendar should open. That's all fine. But the real power is in the other implementation, what I did, and that's already in this demo here. Here I see all events coming out of the site. And what you should do for that is that you should go into the calendar here, and instead of creating a full calendar block, you first create a listing block. And the listing block can search for stuff, and that's what you see here. What I've done is here below, there's a listing block which has a number of criteria. For this demo, I only search for events. And then you say, but don't show me it as a boring list, but show me it as the full calendar variation. And this is something we should talk about in the next episode. The variations in Volto are really cool to build these things. And this is what's happening now. So the listing block is searching for all events, but it then presenting it not as a boring list, but it's activating it. It's activating the full calendar view here. And now we have a really nice overview of what's coming up here. March, April, you see the tiny shiny Alpine City Sprint, Classic UI. This is a really small bug here. The Classic UIT meeting is only on one day. I don't know what is happening here. I think it's a presentation layer. World Plone Day is mentioned for 2 days. So I have some tricks here to see what's going on here with these are, I think, recurrence issues. I have to check out what's going on there. And another thing I found out is that the listing block needs to send all the events straight to the full calendar block. So you should disable batching. So I set the results limit here and the item batch size to a large number. So the first batch is again maximum of 1,000. So it will ship all events found to the full calendar component, and then it will list it. And I
That makes
think this
sense.
is a bug on the edit, because if I go to the view, I think it was correctly. No, it's still not wrong. So there's some tricky thing here that we need to solve with the recurrence. But as soon as it's finished, then we're going to put this live, and it's a really cool way to see. Okay, let's add this to the. That's how you can easily like encapsulate already existing JavaScript components, either in a block or in a variation that can be put on the listing block or another already existing block.
Nice.
Quickly shout out here if you want to see the recent Plone releases. They're all here on the Plone.org website as well, as we have a listing here for events and other sprints down here with the community events. So that was my Volto
Excellent.
plugin.
I have something tiny where I didn't have a hand in at all. It is the code block, Volto code block, written by Plone Conf BR, because I'm not sharing yet. So I'm showing the website of the repository Volto code block by Plone Conf BR, because we're going to Brazil this year. And also because I use this block on our own website, which we're relaunching in a couple of days. So there's a blog item called ZODB database debugging. It's really old, and if you know export import, you don't need to read that anymore. But it has a ton of code examples, and when I migrated these from Classic to Volto, the database, all of this code was like in one line. It was basically, the format was broken, and I had to find a way to do code examples in a nice way in Volto. And I found this block and actually did the migration then by hand. I just copied and pasted the code blocks. So here is a code block, and you can choose the language. And if you say plain text, it doesn't do any formatting, so you can write whatever, as long it's basically a pre tag in this, renders like pre. It has different styles. You can say make it dark or light. Show line numbers, yes or no. Wrap long lines, yes or no. And the default language, obviously is Python. So when I scroll to the bottom there, I have here is some Python code. And it's syntax highlighted, and works really nicely. And yeah, so that's a nice way to do your code examples in Volto with the code block. So you can click copy, and you have it as copied and stuff like that. So it's a nice little add-on. It has an additional feature to render weird graphs. Not going to get into that. Enrico is really proud of that, but I didn't see the point for my use case, at least. But it can do that. It has a name. Let me see what it was.
Not a prepared question for you, but how
Yeah.
did you add this? Because you mentioned this is an article you already wrote on your Plone site in 2020. Did you already migrate this? Where do you do the conversion to the code block now? Did you do that afterwards, or was it already in the blocks conversion tool?
No, it's not part of the blocks conversion tool, and I did it by hand. I had the old website on the left, and I copied the code and added it to the right, because it's only a couple of blog posts in our blog that has that much code where it's actually what works fine is just the code. So if you have the code tag, that is you don't have to do anything for stuff like that. But if you have large chunks of code in a pre-tag, that is not properly rendered in, because Slate doesn't support the pre-tag, basically. And it probably would be possible to do a migration so that it finds the pre-tag and it adds a code block for these, but it's not part of the core, so it needs to be hacked into additionally. But the site is not that big outside, so I did it by hand.
If we were a gossip podcast or a juice blog, I could say, "Oh, confessions from the migration pope. He converts stuff by hand." But this is common sense in migrations, people.
Totally.
If you have only a few pages where this is happening, please do it by hand and don't start writing huge migration scripts. On the other hand, if you need to rinse and repeat, try to automate things.
Totally, I agree. I talk to clients all the time, say, how many items are there? If it's like below 100, maybe hire some student to do that, and he'll be done in 2 hours or stuff like. It depends on what the task is, obviously. But automation is for repeatable tasks and not for one-off things.
Okay.
Yeah.
Philip, we're through.
Yeah,
we had one.
We survived, even though we had a really long break, and we're at 118. Let's stop before it's 120. Thanks for bearing with us, and hope to see you soon, and hope we'll do another episode, not in 4 months, but maybe in 1 or 2. Let's get back into the game.
Yeah.
And see you at some Plone event, and keep on doing whatever you're doing.
See you around at the Tagung, at the Sprint, on our Discord, on our community forums, or at the next TPN.
Bye.
Thank you, Philip. Bye-bye. See you around.
Thanks, Fred. Bye.